Welcome to Anxious Wow, a podcast that explores the intersection of mental health and wellness, being a minority in America, living with pride, and the ghetto-ness of adulthood. Hi, I'm Emperor.
And I'm Tevin. Whether this is your first time watching or you're an active member of the Anxious Wow family, thanks for tuning in.
That's right.
And today we're just having a duo. It's just the two of us, no guests.
That's right. We don't need a guest today.
Excited for that? All right, so I'll take us into our little icebreaker moment.
Okay.
If you could pick up one skill or superpower you do not currently possess, what would it be?
You said a skill or superpower?
Yeah.
Dang. I will pick up learning every language in the world. I would like to know every single language.
It's a good one.
I think it allowed me to communicate with people, see who's gossiping and talking the most mess. You know, there's a lot of stereotypes out there. Who's the loudest, who does what, who's always doing things. And I'm like, this is because y'all guys don't understand everybody. So I'm pretty sure that, I just want to know what's going on, what people are talking about, and just kind of being able to communicate, because the people that I know who speak English, a lot of them I can't stand, and a lot of them are fake. So I'm pretty sure there's people out there who speak a different language that I'm probably more in tune with and I can connect with better.
I would have telekinesis.
Okay, why?
So I don't have to pick up stuff that's far away.
That's lazy.
It's a useful skill.
It's a useful skill.
Yeah. I could probably even move heavy things that I can't move by myself.
But then the government's going to get you and lock you up and put you in what area was it, 50, 59, 58? I'm making that up.
54.
54, sorry. Yeah. Held off by a few.
It's not like a good time now.
How you know?
We're going to be partying. I'm partying with the aliens.
You're going to be locked up. They're going to be doing experiments on you, putting needles inside your body and trying to extract things from you.
I'm going to be an alien superstar.
Okay, listen. Shout out to the song. Great song.
So what's making you anxious for the week?
Me getting over this sickness that I had. I was out of commission. I was coughing and phlegm was coming up and I was weak, and you know me, I'm kind of stubborn. So I tried to go to the gym and still work out, and my body looked at me and was like, yeah, no, we're not doing this. So I've been out of commission for like 4 days. So just hoping for a speedy recovery, but that's kind of messing me up a little bit.
Praying for you.
Thank you. Prayer works.
It does.
What's making you anxious this week?
I think there was something that happened earlier this week where I felt like I was overlooked.
What happened?
I felt like I was overlooked and I didn't appreciate it.
Okay.
Kind of made me feel a little devalued. And yeah, just wasn't a good feeling.
Well, someone who's experienced that a lot in their life and in their career, it doesn't feel good to feel like you're devalued or you're not appreciated or what you're doing is taken in vain. But I can say this, you know how great you are, you know what you did, and a lot of people get overlooked. Look at the music industry. There's some people who are absolutely great who can't make it to the top 100. You have people who go, put out trash and garbage, and, they're the next big thing. So overlook comes with, being someone who has talent. Also, you're a black man, so we get overlooked a lot. I'm not saying we should get used to it, but I'm saying it does come with the territory.
It does. But I talked about it with my therapist, and
did she help you?
Yeah, she did. Or at least I felt better after talking about it.
That's all that matters.
Yeah, I got it off my chest.
Well, I'm glad you're feeling better.
I do.
And don't take that with you. Just leave it as that.
I'm leaving it into the week, and I'm gonna hop into the next week, and it's gonna be a thing of the past.
That's right.
So I guess this leads us into our topic of the day.
Our topic of the day is being burnt out, and I'm pretty sure that a lot of people can, attest and just.
You felt that. The way you said burned out.
I did.
You said burned out.
Yeah, I had to make sure that you heard every syllable, everything, because every letter was
a little R. And
everything was in there. If it was supposed to be rolls, it was rolled when I said it.
Burned out.
Burned out.
Burned out.
A lot of people can relate to this. I think most of the world can, no matter where you are. Even different ages could definitely relate to that. So Miriam once again provided us with a definition.
She's been good lately.
She's been good. We went out and she had coffee, I had tea. And we just sit and chit chatted, and she's going with some stuff. She's been going through some personal things that I'm not going to say, out of respect to her. But she's provided me with, a good definition, and Webster had her back. So we're going to talk about burnout. Exhaustion of physical or emotional strength or motivation, usually as a result of prolonged stress or frustration. Shout out again to Merriam-Webster.
It's a good definition.
It's a great definition.
Do you ever feel burned out?
How you gonna ask me that question? Do I ever feel burnt out?
Yeah.
You see how I look right now? I look burnt out right now.
I ain't want to say anything. I ain't want to say anything. But I ain't want to call you out. You on camera.
Listen, the skin still looks good, as you can see. The skin still looks great. But yeah, being burnt out, like it happens more frequently than I would like to admit. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people deal with this on a regular basis. They don't know they're even burnt out. They probably feel like a lot of times that like, oh, maybe I need to push a little harder, or maybe I'm tired, or maybe I'm being lazy, or maybe that's, me have to get over this hump. I'm like, no, it's not a hump. Like, you burnt out. Like, you did too much. Your body is drained physically because mentally you just can't do it anymore. And it happens in all states: work, friendships, relationships, waking up, tasks, ambitions, goals. It's really a thing. So I'm glad we talk about it today.
So I've been a grown-up and decided to do a little bit of research for this episode.
Look at you being an adult. I'm so proud of you.
I know. It comes with its growth. I need Kelly. So I looked up the common causes of burnout, and they gave 3 of the biggest factors when it comes to being burned out.
Okay.
So the first one is work-related pressures, such as like high expectations, long hours, or the lack of being in control. The next one is personal life stressors, such as relationships, caregiving, or financial worries. And also social and systemic issues, such as discriminations, lack of resources, or inequality.
I hit every single one of those. Every single one. I feel they missed some things too. I can relate to everything on that, what you researched.
I definitely can relate to like the personal one. Well, I mean, maybe the work one too, outside of just like my 9 to 5.
Right.
Just doing things like this or other side projects that we're working on or that we're individually working on. Kind of everything just adds up, and like you're working 9 to 5, but then you're also working 5 to 9, as people like to put, when it's really 5 to 3 a.m.
Right.
And then you have to wake up, and if you're fortunate enough to work from home, or I have a work from home day, I'm fortunate to where I can do that, be up till 3 a.m. and then still be up for work. But if it's a day you have to go into the office, it's a little harder. And then you're like dealing with all your regular 9 to 5 stuff. And that on top of your lack of sleep, it's just really, you just feel burned out.
I feel you.
And just tired.
It's like sometimes you feel like it's not enough hours in a day. And you're trying to get everything done. Like you said, it's not 5 to 9. I don't know who made up that 5 to 9. I think they're trying to be cute by switching the numbers. Mm-hmm. I'm not shouting you out because that was dumb. But
I don't even know who to shout out.
I don't know who to shout out. They need to shut up. That's what they need to do, because they ain't no 5 to 9. Although that is a good, area. But think about it. Like, a lot of us, if you're working 9 to 5 and fortunate enough to do that, some people work 9 to 6 or 10 to 7 or 7 to 4. You do your 8 to 9 hours. And then, a lot of us then afterwards will go to the gym to kind of decompress kind of. But then that takes anywhere from an hour and a half to 2.5 hours, adding traveling time, right? And then you come home and then you have to eat, and then you want to work on your passion projects, or if you're trying to switch jobs, or if you're trying to do other things, and you still have to do that. And that's not even adding the fact that some people have families with children and other responsibilities, and then you're trying to do it all every single day. I think the biggest part is that people begin to feel guilty. I know I do. When you have 24 hours in a day, right? Mm-hmm. You sleep for 8 of them if you're fortunate enough. And then you try to get all these tasks done in that allotted time, and something gets missed. And you start freaking out. You're like, no, so you'll stay up extra to try to do all these things. And then I feel like guilt adds to that because you feel guilty that you missed something. And I think a resolve would have been like just kind of scheduling things out. But it's hard sometimes. Like it's hard for people to follow schedules. They don't always work. So I think that happens.
Yeah, schedule thing, especially. Like, I have stuff in my calendar where it's just like, oh, do this at this time. Though many times I do stick to it. Sometimes the thing before that might run over, or
Right.
something else comes up that's unexpected, and it kind of deters you from what you already have planned. And that then backs you up from like, oh, I plan to do this at 9, but my 8 o'clock thing ran over extra 30 minutes. I still need to eat dinner, so let me squeeze 30 minutes into that. So now I'm starting this at 10, and everything else I have planned is kind of pushed back at least an hour.
Right.
Because we would say the 10 o'clock thing won't run over.
Right. We can't control time, and you can't control how things go. And you said it before, part of it was like when you can't control, I think you said something like you can't control things. I mean, yeah, like I go back to like work. That's a place where, I worked, again, I told people before, I worked in retail in the past, and, there's a lot of long hours, especially during like the holiday time, and you're working, you think you're working 9 hours, but when your salary, that don't exist. It's
No.
you work when they need you to, and you stay when they need you to. And if you try to leave early or leave on your scheduled time, you feel guilty because they looking at you like, oh, you're leaving? And they go, okay. And you know what that okay means. It's not like, okay, go get some rest. It's okay. Like, this ain't cut out for you, or you're going to come make your life not so easy and
But
make
my
it
work
very
is done. Leave me
difficult.
alone.
That's not how it works. It's sad, but it's the truth. So you end up working the 11, 12 hours, tired, neglecting everything else to prove yourself, hopefully that you get promoted, or hoping that, they see your value or see what you contribute. And then they go, oh, we saw you worked 11, 12 hours. That was good, but... And they sitting there like, okay, now the butt is in there, so I have to probably do it again and do it again and do it again. And you keep doing these long shifts that are not really helpful or healthy towards you or your mental being or just your physical being. And in the long run, most times, if you look like me, you're not getting the promotion. So they give you like that sense false of hope. And because it's like you're chasing a drug, and you get burnt out in the process. And then you look back, you're tired, you're frustrated, you can't go on. And that day that you can't perform because you're so tired, you go, well, we thought about promoting you, or we thought you were going to be great, but you're so inconsistent. Look at you. And you're like, inconsistent? Yeah, they'll sit there and say, oh, yeah. Oh, yes. They'll call out and say that you're being inconsistent because the one day you couldn't break your neck for them, that's what they labeled you as. So every time you try to do anything in the future, they go back to that one time that you couldn't do it. And I think it's a little messed up. And I don't know if this is a thing, but like I know you say you did research, but I'm pretty sure there are some races or ethnic groups that are more burnt out than others.
So we're going to get into that later.
Are we?
Yeah.
I can't wait. It was just coming to my head, so.
But continue on with this adulting in our research.
All right.
Some signs of burnout are physical, like fatigue, headache, sleep problems; emotional, such as detachment issues, lack of motivation, or irritability; and also behavioral, such as procrastination, avoidance, and neglecting responsibilities. Do you feel like you ever, when you're burnt out, you fall within any of those, or you experience any of those?
Yeah, there's times where, again, I'll switch from working to like my personal stuff, right? Like, doing music. Like, shout out to everyone who is a true artist and puts in the work, because it's not easy. It's a lot of doing things over and over and over again, and re-recording and rewriting and arranging, and it's a lot that takes you to do that. And creatively you can get tired and then you're exhausted. Once all that stuff is done, or you think is done, or you're doing things, you get burnt out from that, your 9 to 5 or whatever you have and other things. And then the next day you wake up, like you think you're going to tackle everything and you don't want to do nothing. Like you just sit there and you just like, I don't know, sometimes, just doubt in my head, thinking like I did all this stuff and I didn't really see like anything come out of it instantaneously. Lack of confidence sometimes. You also see yourself, I don't want to admit this, but like comparing yourself to others who are in positions that you're like, oh, if I put a little more, I can be there too. Things like that happen. And next thing you know, you got so caught up in thought that it swallowed you. And then you look at the time and it's 5 p.m. and you've been up since 9 o'clock in the morning doing these things, going back and forth in your head, and you didn't get anything done. So on top of you being burnt out, now you aren't productive. And now you're like, dang, I didn't get nothing done. Now I feel like I wasted my whole entire day. Now you're beating yourself up. So you burnt out, you're beating yourself up. You're in this space that it was okay to visit, but now you're living in it. And now you're kind of like stressed out, and then the spiral continues. And now you're less productive. You're not getting anything done.
Mm-hmm.
So, people think getting to that burnout spot means that like, oh yeah, I was working hard, I went beyond my limits. And some people praise it. Like there are people who praise getting burnt out. Like, oh, you got burnt out. Yeah, because I was doing so much and, I pushed my body to the limit, so I'm going to grow from it. Yeah, you may not grow in the way you think you're going to grow. You might grow in like a negative space. Like you're going to be resentful and you isolate yourself and be upset and, just start filling your head with all these negative thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I definitely experienced some of those as well. So like lack of sleep is probably, or the sleep problems, it's probably definitely the biggest thing, because I lay down, then I'm thinking about everything that I didn't get a chance to get done, or things that I still want to do or need to do, or new ideas that pop up. So I'm on my phone doing research, scrolling through, and putting it in notes, and then saying I'll get back to this tomorrow, or I'll try to hurry up and finish something I was doing earlier. Power of cloud applications such as Microsoft Word or anything, get stuff done while you're laying down, but that's not necessarily good because you're supposed to be asleep.
Right.
And also like the irritability, just being like forgetting to do things and things like that. A lot of that is a effect from burnout.
I think adding to that a lot of people, they look at like people they admire or people they look up to who, they go, so how did you make it to this? Like how you became, they say the GOATs, right? Like how you become a GOAT, how you became one of the greatest. And it's like, I pushed myself beyond my limits. And, when someone didn't do something, I did it. I worked the extra time. I put in the extra work. I, was sleep deprived. Like they talk about these things and people think like, oh, so I have to, do that as well. And it comes, you get burnt out, or like, with me, like I'm in the gym, like I'm working out and I'm like, okay, I worked out for like an hour and a half. I'm like, okay, but I'm not like in pain. So I need to push myself more. And you push yourself more, you're like, yeah, I feel good. And then once your adrenaline drops and you get home or next day, you can't move. You're like, oh my gosh, like my body's aching. I can't really do anything. So your next workout is a fraction of what you did the day before, but it's like you always feel like you're missing something. So that comes with, again, making a schedule or just like, I'm going to stop here and appreciating that time off. But I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know how to do that to this day. I still struggle with, just taking time and just enjoying the time off. I feel guilty. Like, oh, you're wasting your day. Right now you're sitting home. Other people out there being productive. Right now you're not focusing on anything. You just like, I know you should be focused on your mental health, but like you're just sitting here, watching mindless television or, just reading a book or whatever. And people out there, they're being productive. They're in the gym. You should be in the gym right now too. Like your day off, guess what? If you went to the gym today, you'd be able to push yourself harder. Or if you worked on your task or your dream today, that's one day closer to your dream. So then, you start feeling guilty. Then you pick up the stuff and you start going back out, you start attacking it, not knowing that your mind is like, I need a break.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of time when you physically can't do something because your mind is like, hi, like that's me giving you like a warning. Mm-hmm. Your body is tired because mentally we cannot do this today. But then we see ourselves as weak. Like we get judged for it. We start judging ourselves. And I think a lot of time is like we're listening to a lot of the outside noises that I say like, oh, you're being lazy. And they know they associate laziness with that. So you want to work all the time and push yourself. And then you get to that burnout spot. And sometimes people don't even know they're even there. Like you said, people become irritable. They become isolated. They become this. And some people can work during those times. So yeah, man, it's something that, I think as a whole that, we need to fix just as a community, as a people, as just in general, because it's causing a lot. Like you even hear about people committing suicide because they want to be the greatest at something, especially like in certain schools, and they're burnt out trying to learn things to appease their parents or just to be great in certain things. And they become burnt out and irritable because they stand up till 3, 4 in the morning, waking up at 6 to go back to school, think they're going to take 3 shots of espresso and some coffee that's going to get them through the day. And you can't function off of stuff like
It's
that.
like those always like worry for those kids. It would be like, oh, 17-year-old graduates with their PhD. And I'm like, though that's
How?
great and that's like it's an accolade. It's kind of just like, where is their time off?
Right,
Like, when did they have a chance to be a kid?
right.
Like, these parents are like pushing these kids so that they can achieve these great feats, but also at the same time, it's kind of just like, why is a parent not encouraging them to be a person? So they're going to be 17, not able to get a job because they're too young.
Right.
And then they don't have any friends because they've been focused on school the whole time. And then also the parent can just sit there and brag about how smart or how accomplished their 2-year-old child is.
Because a lot of time, they live in by character through their children. And a lot of time that I've seen them, there are people, like it's always us. It's always a black child sitting there talking about, yeah, my child graduated at 13. Okay, when did they play video games? When did they go ride a bike? When did they learn some social skills? Because my thing is, who are they going to speak to?
Mhm.
You? You're just their parent. You don't own them. After a while, they have to go into the world and live their best life. So when did they ever have time to be a kid? Now, if your child is, a genius or extremely intelligent, shout out to that because, who doesn't want to have an intelligent child? It doesn't make them better than anybody else. They just have a skill set. Like that person might be able to, who might be an expert at quantum physics, but don't know how to dribble a basketball,
Mhm.
or can't follow simple directions because they don't know how to. Because when you're great at something, you're most likely lacking in something else.
Or they can't even engage in a
They
conversation.
don't know how to because they don't know how to have a conversation like this. You bring them on the podcast, and they're like, "Yeah, I did this and this and this." I'm like, "Great." So outside of that, what else? And they don't even know how to answer the question.
Very robotic.
Yeah, and my thing is for those parents to do that to them. When do they get time to breathe? I remember taking AP classes in school, and it was tiring for me. I did it when I was homeless and I was struggling. So I can't imagine, how these extremely intelligent children are doing, learning things at 11 and 12. And that's a lot of information to learn. Not like, oh, you read a book and you're good. You have to absorb it. You have to digest it. You have to practice it. I'm pretty sure they experience burnout.
Yeah, they're probably like the poster children for burnout.
I'm not gonna say who because I respect the dead. But someone that I know, I remember as a child, their parent was trying to get them into a specialized school. They were smart, really they were, and they were trying to teach them multiplication tables early,
Mhm.
and and then the parent said something like, "Yeah, I'm gonna make sure like they're a little ahead of you at your age." I was like, "Okay,
Talking
so
to
now
you.
it's a hoe, huh?"
Talking to you.
Yes, and I was like, "Okay, well," and this is me. I was hating at the time.
What's up with these adults?
These
Keep
adults are
talking to you.
crazy. Mind you, I was like 14, 15 years old at the time. But his kid couldn't get multiplications right away. And I'm getting, you're 5, so it's gonna be a little difficult. And he decided to not feed the kid because they did not get it right. And I was like, they can't eat dinner? And I couldn't challenge this person because I was gonna lose. So I just was like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, this is crazy. But
Should've
he
cost you,
deprived
yeah.
his child dinner because they couldn't get something immediately that most 5-year-olds don't even look at. So it's crazy.
Oh, the child was 5?
5. I was 15, so the child was 5. Wait.
That's kindergarten age.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna rewind it. I just turned 15 because it was right before I broke my leg. So I was 15, and our birthdays around the same time. The child just turned 5. Like they just could be 10 years apart. They just turned 5.
Yeah, you should call CPS.
Well, we can't talk about all that on this podcast, but I'll explain to you more behind closed doors what happened. All in all, it's just not good. Like I'm pretty sure that child felt burnt out. I mean, they're an adult now, and they kind of like didn't school. They went the other way with school. Still smart, but like they didn't. They went to like a special other thing, like high school, something like that, or junior high school. And afterwards, they was like, I was good because it was just too
Burned
much.
out.
Yeah, they got burnt out. It was just too much for them. It was just too much. We need to stop that. We need to stop pushing that on our children and the youth, because that's why it continues. You goes, oh, in order to get out of poverty or get out of these circumstances, you have to work 50 times harder than the next person. Working 50 times harder than the next person is? That means I read one book, you read 50 books. Like that's crazy. That's insane.
Mm-hmm.
For you not to have a social life? Okay, great. Let's say if you work through the chaos, right? And you end up becoming whatever. It's a lonely road. You sacrifice a lot to become great. And a lot of people don't understand that. So now you probably don't have any friends. You probably don't have social skills. You're probably lacking a lot.
So earlier you touched on burnout probably being different than for like minority or marginalized communities. Burnout is more prevalent in marginalized communities such as minorities or the LGBTQ plus community and things like that. And also it's very prevalent for entrepreneurs and creatives in general. As someone who fits into both of those molds, how would you say your burnout compares to your friends who may not necessarily be in the entrepreneurial or creative realm, or your friends who fall within a marginalized community?
It's interesting because, like, again, I guess I can get to more towards the entrepreneurial aspect, because I've had my own business before. I'm gonna push it back out in the future, but doing that was extremely tedious. When you go to work, like they tell you what you have to do. There are a few jobs that allow you to be creative, and if they do, it's still within the constraints of the business. When you're doing your own thing, it don't matter what template you have, a blueprint you have, you literally are creating absolutely everything. There's no HR team. There is no senior manager. There's no CEO, right? You are everything. You are customer service. You are everything. So you being engulfed in that, it's like, where do I start? Like, you understand? You try to pick a point. Like, do I start in this position? Do I start here? And a lot of times you don't know where to begin or where to end. So things like that happen. When it comes even down to creative things, people don't understand the creative process, takes a very long time. You hear about artists about, oh, I wrote this song in 15 minutes. Yes, I've written a song in 15 minutes too. That's not every single song. Ask them about some other songs, how long it took.
If I were to try to write a song in 15 minutes, it would have to be with Chat GPT.
So I love you like long all the time. But yeah, it's like, it's these unrealistic expectations. People think, you do it for an hour a day and everything's gonna be great. Like, if that's the case, everybody would have a business. In the case, everybody would have a number one hit song. Everyone be, you know what I'm saying? Everyone be a doctor. Everyone be, a podcast host. Even this, because, they think, you just show up and just, sit here. Like, no, like, you see these cars? The cars are cute. Like, this cost thing, there's things on the other side. I'm not going to show you. I can't read it, but it takes a lot. And there's a lot of going over things, and we don't pick out random questions. Like, we sit there and you practice and go over certain things. And sometimes you have to scrap things from scratch. So people don't understand that. On top of, wait a second, you still have a regular job that you still have to give a lot to so you can keep that job. Wait, you probably still have a social life. Luckily, I don't have them right now, but I would like in the future. I don't have children that I have to, run to every 10 seconds if something happens. So all that being said, it's extremely difficult. Like, it's hard. Like, it's very, very hard. There's times you can spend 8-9 hours just thinking, writing stuff down, and then next day wake up and say, I don't like any of it, and cross it all out. I've written songs, and I've showed them to you, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to get rid of everything. I keep the concept like, oh, if it's like broken heart, whatever, I keep that. I'm like, these words, they ain't wording. They're not given. So, and you just spent a long time creating this and you have to scratch it off. I mean, the blessing is that you know you can do better, but that's a lot of time and energy that you put in towards that. And it happens a lot with us because, again, I'm always going to say this, as minorities, we start behind the start line.
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is. Even if you have money, if you compare a minority money and a white person with money, they still put the white person ahead. It just is what it is. It's terrible. So you feel like,
Look at Beyonce.
look at Beyonce. Yeah, look at Beyonce. Look at all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to what some things that Jay-Z said. Beyonce. Look what happened to Barack, Michelle. Listen to what just really listen
Yeah.
before you start going in. Listen to what they're saying.
They would talk like, especially the Obamas, they would talk about they would go fly overseas to all these other countries. And though he was the leader of one of the most powerful nations in the world, they still would look at him as lesser than.
And then call him like words like monkey and stuff like that. It's disrespectful. And what do we have to do? We have to sit there and keep our head held high, although we probably work 15 times harder, 50 times harder to get this seat. And you're probably tired, probably stressed out, and they're still laughing like it's not good enough. So a lot of times with us, a lot of us, come from areas where we have to really fight to get out of them. And a lot of time they tell us how to win is by putting in more time and working harder than everyone else. And comes with that, that's where burnout comes in. Because sometimes you just can't push yourself. You go, I only get 4 hours today. But your parent goes, okay, that's 4 hours, that's great. Now go rest. They go, no, Tommy down the street did 5. Or Tommy down the street is doing better than you. And it's just that type of mindset. Again, every parent doesn't do that. But I grew up in a place where that's what it was. Like when it came down to education in my neighborhood, I was the standard. So a lot of people compared their kids to me. And because of it, it created...
It's not fun being the person who everyone comparing themselves or their children to.
But then, it's not. Because there you like the praise, but then you think about, okay, I have to keep this up.
Yeah.
So then you start putting more, you start putting more into it. You start working a little harder. You start taking on extra stuff. And then you get around people who are just like you, who was that person on the block or in their neighborhood where they had to put in work. Now you're competing with your other people. Mm-hmm. Now everybody putting in extra work, right? And now guess what? Everybody's saying they're being all stressed out. People in the corner smoking cigarettes at 14. Talk about the life I live. I'm like, the life you live. I'm like, you're 14 years old. Mm-hmm. But, that happens. And two things can happen from burning out. Some people, they think they prosper over it, but then they're kind of miserable in the long run. Or some people just go the opposite way because it was just too much for them. And they become evil and bitter and they start hating the world because what they were trying to go toward, they weren't able to achieve. So now those who were able to achieve it, they think that person doesn't deserve it. Because they say, I put in all this work and I couldn't get it. Mm-hmm. I know you put in more work than me. It's impossible. So it was just given to you. Don't let the person be a Nepo baby. Oh my gosh. It's a problem.
Oh, I wish I was a Nepo baby.
Me too.
But
shout out to those.
Back to when you were talking about like as someone who's an entrepreneur or a creative and you having to start behind the finish line. Definitely like when I had my previous business, I felt that you're like a team of one and you're the head of finance, you're the chief marketing officer, you're the CEO, you're the chief merchandising officer, whatever realm of business that you're in.
All those three
you're
initials.
All of those and as a minority who it's not easy to get access to funding, it's very hard. You have to self-fund a lot of times. Funny enough, I was at Chase sitting down with my banker one time. And I saw someone of a fairer skin tone come in. And he sat down with a banker and he was coming in there for a loan for his business. He was loud enough so I was able to hear. He said that he hadn't really worked in his business or worked with his business in probably about 2 years. They were asking him like how much money he made last year. That's when he said like he didn't really make anything because he wasn't really operating the business.
Right.
And so he continued to chat with them. And then all of a sudden you hear, oh yeah, we should be able to get you some money because he's seeking capital to get everything started back up again. And it's kind of just like, I wonder how that conversation would have went had he been
Me.
brown.
Me. Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
And it's very interesting. We can't even have the audacity to walk into a bank like that and just ask for I think he was asking probably for like $50,000 to $75,000 too. I think he probably was asking for trying to get a credit card, and they said he can get a line. He's getting a line of credit, business line of credit, and I'm just like, I wish I could just walk in somewhere like that and just do that, but that's not how the world's set up.
I mean, I wish I can go shop without being looked at, but that's another conversation. Yes, it doesn't work like that for us. Even again, down to, you said entrepreneurship, but even at work, I've literally seen people who are lighter skinned and they're minorities, or from a different ethnic group of men, but they are still a minority, do a fraction of the work and get hooked up because they're lighter and they're a different ethnicity and given extra money for getting written up at work and not doing their job. Every time I've always asked for additional money, I've always was told no. Only one job gave it to me, and it was my first retail job ever. Outside of that, every time I said I did A, B, C, D, E, F, G, I didn't get, and I asked for why I think I deserve more or why I should be getting paid higher, I always was told no. Then you see, someone else do it and get it, then I will always bring it up. So how come them? They will always tell you like, oh, well, don't worry about somebody else, worry about yourself. There's always thing they have to say, and they're mask it with, people who spend so much time worrying about other people. No, we spend so much time calling out the injustice of what it is. If I see someone who looks nothing like me, who work in the same place, you know how people work. You must be blind if you don't see how some people don't do anything at work. We all see it. And you sit there and you see them get these positions or move up and they don't look nothing like you. And they tell you have to do this to get to the position. So you're working hard, putting in the time, putting in the effort, putting in the work, killing yourself, burning yourself out for them to still say no. And Sally next to you didn't have to do any of that stuff, and she got the position because they like her or they want to sleep with her. It happens a lot, and it's really, really disgusting. And it's heartbreaking sometimes that every time I walk somewhere, I have to always work harder because I'm a black, brown-skinned, strong man. I have twists in my hair that look like locks. They will say, oh, you have locks in your hair. I'm like, no, stop being ignorant. They're twists. There are people who have nice locks. But when your hair looks like this, or when your hair is locked up, or when your hair is braided, or when your hair is something that's outside of Eurocentric, standards, you have to put in a lot more work. And with that, it's not fair, but you're doing yourself to prove it to yourself and to people that look at my worth. I'm great. I can do all these things too, for them to still shut the door in your face. Mm-hmm. And then you get upset and you become resentful because now you're tired, you're over it, you're angry, you're hungry. I'll be hungry a lot of times too. And it's just not fair. And that's part of the burnout syndrome with us. We always were told we have to do more than everyone else, even those who look like us who hold keys. There goes, you have no idea what I had to get to be right here.
Like hold keys, and what do you mean?
Like who have like keys to like open doors for us. Like there's a few of us who do have positions and they look like us, but they'll tell you like, I had to do so much to get here. I can tell you look a lot older than you're supposed to look because I'm pretty sure you've been killing yourself. So I understand that. And it happens. And then since they had to work so hard to get there, they're not going to give you that key unless you have to put in the exact same or more work for them to give you that opportunity as well. Mm-hmm. And we just keep repeating these cycles.
So we should be trying to make it easier for our own people.
And we don't. We actually make it harder because we feel like it's only me. Mm-hmm. Because that's what we was told. It's not let's all move our community together. It's you're better than. You have to put in more work than. You have to kill yourself. So
like I had to do this. You need to meet me or supersede what I did.
Right. Yeah. And if you do, sometimes they get jealous, so they're gonna take their position. So they're still close the door in your face anyway. So you can't win.
Strategies to prevent burnout. Based off of research, they said like setting boundaries. So that's like managing your workload, learning to say no, prioritizing self-care, such as taking breaks, sleeping, making sure your nutrition is up and correct and healthy, exercising or participating in your other hobbies, time management, such as balancing work, personal time, and relaxations, seeking support, such as speaking with your therapist, going to support groups, speaking with your mentor or other colleagues who may also be feeling the same things that you're feeling. And also just regularly checking with yourself emotionally and physically.
I think those are all great if you really want to practice that and you're in a space where you feel comfortable practicing it. If you are dependent on someone else, like those kids who live at home with their parents, they don't have those opportunities because, excuse me, parents are going to sit there and say, what do you need counseling for? Yes, people are more open to therapy, but let's be real, a lot of people still aren't. There are parents who sit there and say things. You can see on social media the trolls who sit there and come at someone who wants to take a mental break for something because it's too much for them. They deem them as being weak, and people jump on that bandwagon. So it's hard sometimes. Support groups, I do agree with that. Going to a support group or finding like-minded people, but sometimes it's also hard to find like-minded people because they deem that as being weak. It's like you're complaining.
So sometimes you got to step out of your own bubble to find those support groups.
Some people don't know how.
Yeah, I mean, I'm someone who isn't the most sociable person, so it's not easy for me just to go up to a stranger and just start talking with them. But there are those resources to like find support groups online or something. Whether I don't know, it could be a church group, support group, for example, or it could be I don't know, like a running club. Those are really popular now, or things
Right.
like that.
I do like when you said setting boundaries. I think that it starts there. I think you have to start setting boundaries, and saying no is setting a boundary. Like, I'm not doing this. Because there's some people who say no all the time and they get away with it. But when we start saying no, we can look at it a little differently.
Yeah, we look at as being combative,
Argumentative, difficult, all types of people are scared.
Unfortunately, our Black queens definitely get that title put on them.
We do too.
Unfortunately,
we do as well, and Black women get put on them because they're women as a whole. They look down on women and it's disgusting. So when they standing up for themselves, it's not a problem. When a Black man of a certain stature, someone who doesn't seem as a threat, when they do, it's not a problem. When someone like me who is 6'3" and I tower over everyone and I walk and be in my authentic self, it bothers people. Me saying no, like, no, what you mean no? And I get labeled as this difficult person.
an angry Black man.
I always get put as the angry Black man when I'm being yelled at. I'm like, wait a second, your tone is elevated. Why would I put as the angry Black man? Because it's easier for them to believe that someone was an angry Black man. You put fear in someone's heart, they start to believe it. So this make us the angry Black person who can't, who you can't get along with, and people run with it, even knowing that it's not true. And then what happens when you do stuff like that? You go, okay, you do that stuff at work, then you want to put more time into your passion project. And because you want to get out that situation, that circumstance. And you put in a lot of time in it, and then there it goes again, you become burnt out once again because you want to escape that situation so bad. You are literally killing yourself somewhere else where you want to hope that it's an escapism for you, but it doesn't work like that. But to go back to what you said, yes, setting boundaries works. Saying no to a lot of things. I can't do this.
That's probably the biggest thing, saying no.
Yeah, to friends too. Like, I can't do this right now. I can't do this. I'm sorry, I can't. I can give you some resources, but I can't. And the person has to be able to take and say, okay, the person can't do this for me.
Yeah. I think I've been practicing a lot lately, just the prioritizing self-care aspect. Especially like time management, and taking breaks. I think that's something that, like, when it's like a down season or something like summer, yeah, I'm taking breaks and this and the other, but now that fall is back, and work is picking up and we're back here and everything is just piling up, and it's just kind of just like, oh my God, how am I going to manage all of this, and how am I going to manage my time, and how I'm going to be pulled over here and pulled over there. And it's just like so much. But I think by being able to prioritize my time correctly, so kind of just like my therapist said, don't do any work 2 hours before you go to sleep. So I've been having 11 o'clock hard cutoff of on working on things, and that'll be times when I just sit there and watch a show before I go to sleep, or listen to music before I go to sleep, or just laying there, maybe scrolling through TikTok or something on the couch before I go lay down. Something that's not requiring my mind to work too hard and just really start to decompress and just really wind down for the day.
I tried to do that. Well, I've been doing it, but then, my mind wanders to, oh, you should be doing this, or right now you're not doing anything. And then, the guilt sets in. And it's bad because, I've always been in, survivor mode. And I think that comes with that too. And just always not want to go back to, prior circumstances, or just wanting to, be great. So you always think about what else can I do to keep elevating? What else can I do to not go backwards, versus just enjoy the moment. Like, this is where you are. Things could always be worse. Actually, this is great. Like, just really sit back and see what your hard work has done. Now it's time for you to be a little bit more strategic, because you can't keep going this way. If you got to this point with burning yourself out, you're getting older, so you can't do as many things you used to do back in the day. If you want to take the next few steps, you have to look at things differently. You can't keep pushing yourself, because you already see that you're at your brink. Anything beyond that's going to have you start going downwards. The quality of things are going to start to drop. So it's time now to start to be a little more strategic. Like, again, like you said, having a calendar, marking things off, having hard stops. In the morning time, just making sure you stick, maybe come on like a little ritual. You do certain things that you want to get done, and check those things off and don't skip them, because we're creatures of habit. So just getting into that, it will help. I mean, it's not easy, but you have to hold yourself accountable, or have a friend or a therapist or someone who you care about who'll sit there and check on you. Once a week, hey, so you get this stuff done? No. So why didn't you? What stopped you? And someone who really, really cares. And that at the end of the day, it's entirely up to you. So you have to hold yourself accountable too. Like, all right, look, from 5 to 6, I'm going to do this. And if I can't do it today because things happen, rework your schedule and push it somewhere else.
And when you're at work from 9 to 5, just really taking that time at the end of the day, it's just kind of just like, unless you're on a tight deadline or you have something last minute that came up and it needs to be done immediately, like whether you get off at 4, 5, or 6, look at that clock, pack up your bag, shut your laptop, and leave. Because work-life balance is extremely important. Otherwise, you're just going to be burned out, because at the end of the day, like Artavia said last season, these companies, they're going to drop you at the drop of a dime. They're going to let you go.
They don't care.
Whenever they need to save money or anything.
Or when you're given so much, they don't praise you for it. They go, okay, they don't sit there and go, oh, great job. They'll sit there and go, okay. And then when you get burnt out, yeah, this isn't working. And they'll replace you with someone else. They will replace you. And then you sit there and you're like, but I gave so much and you're so heartbroken. Is that a third? I'm like, they don't care about you. They don't care. They don't
It's
care.
called head count for a reason.
It's called head count. And that's why we all have certain numbers. They think it's because people to scan into your job. No, you're literally just a number. That's why people come, they go, oh, hi, Mr. So they go, oh, hey.
Hey, employee 546.
They never say, they don't say your name. You could be employee of the year. They don't know. You could be the salesperson of the year, unless you're bringing in, like there's someone in a company I used to work for who was a top performer, and people know who she was because she brought in so much money. But outside of her, and she didn't look like us either, outside of her, they don't know anybody's names. And I'm like, that's wild to me. Like, you don't know this person who sat there and brought in all this money for you. You know this person who sat there and came up with certain rules and regulations that help shift and shape the company. No, they don't know. But when you don't perform at a level, they'll sit there and get rid of you.
Like, unless you have a job that affords you the favorability, or you have a job that like has high visibility to where these top executives know your name, it's very hard to get noticed and very hard sometimes to have that job security because you're even more of a number if they don't know you.
And one thing I want to add too, take your vacations. That will help with burnout. Like
Yeah,
on
I
your
take
vacation,
advice
like
myself.
just take your vacations and try not to do anything that's not a 911. Like some things do come up, I get it. But like if you have like 3 weeks vacation and you want to use 1 week like to focus on like a passion project, that's fine.
Mhm.
But one of those weeks should just you just chilling,
Yeah.
being on an island, staying at home, having a drink, watching mindless TV, catch up on certain things, and try really hard not to feel guilty about it.
Yeah, I think you should have at least 1 week where you're traveling in a way, but you also need, if you have enough PTO for that, another week where you're having a staycation because though vacation, you're going traveling, you're laying on the beach, that's fun. That traveling takes a lot of energy.
It's a
So
lot.
you need a week where you're just truly just like at home, resting, and you're on do not disturb.
Do some local things. You don't have to
Yeah.
travel. Every city has something. I mean, we live in New York City, so we have everything. But certain cities has everything. Go do karaoke. Go to a cool bar. Go hang out. Go walk on the strip. Go do something. But don't kill yourself.
Don't kill yourself. Sound followed us here too?
It follows us everywhere.
I know. So, well, we know by now that sound means enlightenment with E. So
Yes.
enlighten us.
All right. So my enlightenment topic today is people who try to diminish another person's dreams. You already know how I'm gonna start this off because y'all been following me for, this is the second season. A lot of times it is jealousy, they're hating, and they're insecure. There makes no sense why someone else should be waking up every day telling you you shouldn't accomplish something or you shouldn't be great or you shouldn't do certain things. You follow your dreams no matter how big or small it may seem to someone else. It is something that you should be doing. If it makes you happy, then go right ahead and do it. I'm so sick and tired of hearing someone saying, I wanted to do this, but my friend John said I should do this. My mom or dad said this. My community said this. It's not accepted here in my culture. Listen, you need to be who you need to be. There's only one of you. So you need to go ahead and follow your dreams and do it to your best of your abilities. Whether you want to paint, whether you want to be a cop, whether you want to be an entrepreneur, whether you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, a singer, someone who does backflips for a living, it don't matter what it is. You go ahead and follow your dreams. If people focus on themselves, they want to spend a lot of time beating you up. Why would someone sit there and tell you not to follow your dream? I'll tell you. Again, going back to the jealousy part. They're mad because you figured out what exactly that you wanted to do. Or they wanted to follow their dreams too when they were younger and their parents or people who were higher up told them that they couldn't do it because it wasn't going to bring in no money. At the end of the day, yes, money is cool, but I promise you it does not equate to ultimate happiness. And you do not want to be stuck at a job that's bringing in all this money and you are miserable. There are a lot of people that you see stories talking about, yeah, I was a CEO for this company. I quit to start my own thing. And people are like, but you was making $250,000 a year. Yes, but I was not happy. You have no idea what it is. Well, you probably do, to be in a job that does not bring you true happiness or be in a situation that does not bring you true happiness. It's really an internal hell. Just to think about it. Okay, you get paid every week or 2 weeks. Great. What about those other, days that you're not getting paid? You're suffering and you're thinking about it. And the money, I promise you, is just a moment in time. This is the work you put in, but you put in work somewhere where you're not happy. For those who sitting there who are beating their kids up, stop doing it. Like, let your child live their best life. You never know what God has in store for them. Maybe they should be an artist. You never know what might happen. Maybe they should be a cop. Guess what? They might go into there and actually change it and then make it not be so corrupt. Maybe they actually want to be a doctor. But don't enforce things on kids and anyone just because you think it will make them happy because you feel little about yourself and because you didn't accomplish anything. It's not your child's fault that you're a loser. So what you should do too, because you're not dead, how about you go and achieve your dreams? There are no age limits on dreams. That was created by humans. You can sing at 50. You can be an entrepreneur at 60. You can go act for your first time at 72. It doesn't matter. Stop putting age constraints and putting constraints on people as a whole. Let people be happy, because once that happens, the world will be a better place. And that's enlightenment with E.
I want to be a clownfish. That's my dream. So I need you to support me on that.
Listen, if you want to be a clownfish, go right ahead. Make sure you have all the things and tools to do so. Can you swim?
I guess.
You can?
Yeah.
Can you swim forever? Because clownfish stay down there and they don't come up.
I have surgery tomorrow to get some gills.
Okay, that's nice. Where are you getting surgery at?
I can't tell you that.
Oh, you can't tell?
Yeah, it's illegal.
All right, well, maybe the surgery's illegal as well. But if you'll be a clownfish, then I'll support you being a clownfish.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome.
But it's time to take a viewer question.
Okay.
All right. So this one is from, their name is Stressed Out. They're from NYC. So this kind of inspired us for today's episode. I'm currently working a 9-to-5 job, but I'm also trying to build a business on the side as a solo entrepreneur. Lately, I've been feeling incredibly overwhelmed, like I'm constantly running on empty and don't have enough time for myself or my personal life. I'm starting to question whether it's even worth it to keep pushing on with my side hustle because the balance feels impossible to manage. How can I find a better work-life balance so I don't burn out? And is there a way to manage both my job and business without feeling like I have to give one up?
Yes, there's a way. It's not easy. So, I want to say that straight off the back, it's never easy, but it's not impossible. I'll sit there and say, honestly, write a schedule. Like, especially, you work your 9-to-5, a lot of times you get projects ahead of time. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Write stuff down, knowing that how long it's going to take you to get things done. Most people at least have 2 days off. Those 2 days off, focus on, your passion projects or focus on your business. And then take like 3 of those other days to kind of, do something. Or on one of those days you have off, don't do anything. Like maybe one day you have off from everything. You just focus on yourself, your mental health, go to a spa, do what you got to do. But it all comes down with a calendar. Like if this is what makes you happy, you have to figure out how to do it. And again, it's hard. A lot of people give up because they don't know how to balance it. So sometimes it's not you do 8 hours because you did 8 hours there. Maybe it's 2 hours. Maybe it's 3 hours. Maybe that's what you do. And when you start building momentum, you go from there. And then you get to a point to what's more important, because the goal is not to probably do both. Maybe the goal is to do your business. So you have to figure out, it's like you got to kind of inch your way into it.
Yeah, and also if you can afford it, try using tools online such as scheduling tools for social media if you have a social media profile, or if you can afford to outsource things to a virtual assistant in India or something, use Upwork. You can use like $5 an hour for them to do certain tasks. So there are those resources out there if you are able to afford that and you don't want to do everything or can't do everything yourself.
And ask your friends for help. I mean, there's some friends who will help you out. Don't give them nothing that, could be illegal, like that you should be paying them for. But like, if it's like social media, like, hey, I have a post, can you post it for me? Or I don't know, something that they can do or that will help ease your load. Because doing anything by yourself is very, 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 very difficult. So use your friends, outsourcing, a partner. Like, it takes a village. So use people around you to help support you.
Yeah. That business is basically a child. So it's like a child, it takes a village.
Okay.
Yeah, well, that's all the time we have for today.
It's a great time.
Yeah.
I like it when it's us sometimes.
Well, it might not be that way next time, so don't.
It probably won't.
Follow @AnxiousWow on all social media platforms. Visit anxiouswow.com to learn more about the show and get access to more important resources. Sign up for the Selfish Edit. Learn more on our website. And if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for any future episodes, email us at hi@anxiouswow.com or hit our question and suggestion inbox. See you next time.
See you next time. Have a blessed day, y'all.